Rent to own. My thoughts of why you shouldn't go and try to do this. Although there are certain cases where this might be of benefit to the potential buyer of the home, in most cases, the bad is going to outweigh the good. Typically, somebody goes for a rent-to-own situation because their credit or other factors of their financial history are not good enough in order for them to qualify for regular types of financing through a bank. So what they do is they ask the seller to hold the note on the property since the bank won't give them a loan on it, and in exchange they have to give a large down deposit on the home and some other potential factors as well. In most of these situations, because they don't have great credit, just like you would on a buy here, pay here car lot, you're going to pay a much higher interest rate. Typically, this also changes the entire dynamic between you and the landlord that you have. In most cases, when you're renting, the landlord is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the property. But when you switch over to a rent-to-own, they put that back on you. This can start to get really tricky in certain situations because you might start pouring your own money into the property, and then down the line, something happens to where you can't make that payment, or some other factor happens that allows that landlord to take that property back from you. In most of the rent-to-own contracts that I've seen, there are tons of different ways that the owner of the property can retain that property and never allow you to actually make that purchase. So if you do try to get into one of these situations, please, please, please be careful and make sure that you read the entire contract that you're getting into to make sure that there's no weaseling things happening in order to just get you out of that home at some point in the future. Another big issue that I see with rent-to-own properties is the fact that they don't account for a lot of people's debts. The reason that they can't get approved with a bank is because they probably have more debt than would allow them to actually make a purchase on a home, trying to keep their financial security safe. I see very often in these situations to where people get themselves into way too much debt. They can't handle paying their bills, and they end up defaulting on this loan that they try to take out with the owner of the home and eventually get this house pulled back from them. So instead of trying to get yourself into a rent-to-own situation, my advice to you would be instead to try to work on your financial well-being and get yourself to a point where you could actually just obtain a mortgage on your own. Continue to keep renting a property until you can make it there. Now, if you're saying to me, well, Adam, how am I supposed to do that? Because if I keep paying rent, I'm not going to be able to save up, get down my debt, pay my bills, and get myself to a spot where I could actually make a purchase. Well, if that's the case and that's the situation that you're in, I would re-examine the place that you're living in and maybe downgrade into something that's a little bit cheaper that allows you to have the ability to save.